Welcome to my podcast, Sac Taff. And for the last few weeks, I have been reading little bits of my book, my very first book, A Sacrifice of a Lifetime. And I hope you've been enjoying what I've been reading. I have. It's really taken me back because it's related to my childhood and it takes you up into my early 30s. So I've been reading up until my early teenage years, and it really has taken me back. It really has brought back memories, good memories, and it's made me a little bit nervous, and so on and so forth. But it's all good because it's just made me see how far I've come, and that's why I feel like when I was writing the book, I was writing the book for a specific reason. It's something that took place in her life at the age of 21. That's why I decided to write the book, and it's personal. That's why it's called A Sacrifice of a Lifetime. And I shared how when people read it, they somehow took something from it, which wasn't all that positive. And majority of people could see what I was doing and respected me for it. But then you get some people that couldn't fully understand why I'd written it, and they were taking it. They were looking at it from the wrong angle. So I thought, you know what? Let me do podcasts so I can share more about it, talk about it, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So basically, I've come to my early teenage years. And this morning, I just realised that I didn't bring the book with me. I haven't got it. And I'm like, oh, that's going to set me back. I won't be able to do a video. And I thought, no, I will be able to do a video because I know what the book's about. I've been reading the book for at least the last 3 or 4 weeks, which is good. It's been consistent. It's only this week I don't have the book, and maybe there's a reason behind that, because I did say I was going to reflect more upon Rebecca's secondary school years, because I suddenly found myself in college and I'm like, whoa, I've got quite far ahead. I didn't expect to be, talking about my college years. I will talk a little bit about it as well, though, most probably. And next week, remember to bring the book and I'll start reading a little bit more from it. And I'm looking forward to writing the book because I really want to update it. I'm really looking forward to bringing it back out again. It's like, whoa, what a celebration. What a celebration that would be, definitely, yeah. So basically, I've got up to the point where she's gone to France Boulogne with the school, and then that's when everything's gone downhill. She feels as though her friends are mocking her behind her back and so on and so forth. And she's come home and really been upset about it, and she's tried to even get herself knocked down. Oh yeah, she took herself to a main road in Fulton Heath and tried to get herself knocked down. Luckily it didn't happen because she just wanted to take time off school. She wanted to sort of like have a reason, and I'm so grateful that didn't happen. And I was reflecting upon it, saying, can you imagine if something did happen, then all of a sudden she's got all these problems with her legs and it could have, with her back, or it could have been fatal. Luckily it didn't happen. But her parents allow her to take a day off, and she's still sort of sitting there thinking, oh, what can I do to sort of like cause an accident so that she doesn't have to go to school and so on and so forth. But she doesn't go ahead and do anything, and she goes to school, confronts it, but her persona has changed now. She's more quiet. She's still with the group of friends, but she doesn't trust them, and she's more or less keeping herself to herself. She moves on to secondary school. The teachers can see what's going on, and they don't put her with her friends in the secondary school. She's now in a separate class, and she's happy with that. But at break time, she meets up with them. At lunchtime, she goes out, and I thought, what a good plan. She goes out and walks around and maybe gets lunch when she comes back, or gets lunch outside. But she's still not fully happy there. And then so her parents decide to put her in a private school. So she goes to a private convent school, and they put her a year below so she can sort of catch up, because obviously she's joined the year sort of like mid-year. And it's a whole different sort of system. It's a whole different format, and it's a little bit, she finds it a little bit boring, but she's there. And then she only stays there, I can't remember how long. I think it must have been for about 9 months, something like that. And then, she gets into, she starts misbehaving a little bit, to cause a bit of a problem. And then one of the nuns say that she's seen Rebecca smoking in the toilets, which isn't true because Rebecca doesn't smoke. She didn't smell, but she doesn't smoke. I'm sure the nun said something like, "I can smell it on your breath." I'm like, which world are we living in? Which world? I'm sure she did say something like that. Anyway, my mum comes and they call my mum, and she comes and picks me up, and then she says to me, that the nun said that you're one of the worst students she's ever met. And my mum, when we got home, that's what my mum told me, and she said, "You know what? I don't believe it," because she knew me, and she knows that wasn't completely true. Anyway, from there, I didn't go back. Basically, I think I was expelled. I think so. I didn't go back. And then my dad found a private college in Sutton that I went to. And it was from the age of 15 to 24. And so I started that college in September, really looking forward to it. The new day, when you're starting a new school or even it's a new term, say like after the 6 weeks holidays, and you've got all your new school uniform, new bag and pens, and it's quite exciting to feel that crispiness of freshness of new. And it was that sort of thing. And so I basically went to the college, and this was mixed, and I found it better. It was nice mixing with the boys, and the boys were quite funny. And I felt like there was a rapport there, a platonic rapport there. It was really nice to be surrounded by, male and female students. So that uplifted the situation. And then the classes were okay. If I was put at the front and there were people behind me, I didn't feel comfortable thinking, again, they're going to be making fun of me behind my back. And occasionally I felt like they did. But you know what? Looking back, that's quite usual, isn't it? It's quite usual, isn't it? But because of everything that she'd gone through in her secondary school, it was like she felt it was more intense for her. So there was a time where, she had to take time out and go for a walk because she was really upset about a situation in the class where she felt that's what they were doing behind her back, and so on and so forth. But what I'll do is when I bring the book in next week, I'll read a little bit of that, because that's there's a bit of depth there as well. There's a bit of depth there. So basically, before Rebecca moved to the college, she had come to a conclusion that she can't keep moving from school to school because of the issues that she's facing. She has to ask herself. She came to that conclusion. No one told her this. Why is this same problem happening? Everywhere that she goes, every school that she goes to, there's always an issue. So she knew she was going to have to confront it and deal with it. So when she was in the college, although she felt as though, one or two people may be making fun of her behind her back, she knew she's going to have to deal with it. But how? She had to figure out how is she going to be able to deal with it. So I'll read the book, because sometimes I'm reading the book and it was like, wow, I don't remember that. So I'll tell you some of what I can remember, but I bet you when I read the book, there's going to be more detail that I'm going to leave out. So two ways of how Rebecca dealt with it was by taking part more in friendships. So I remember having two major friends, and then there was an older girl that I used to talk to as well. She was 17 and a half, and some of the boys there as well that we all used to sort of like mingle in at break time. At lunchtime, I used to go out for lunch, especially on a Monday. I remember I used to go out on a Monday for lunch and to the high street. And I remember going to the record shop and getting 2 records every Monday, because I wanted to be a DJ at that time. So that's a really good memory, actually. It's nice when you reflect back and you remember, good things as well. So I just felt really independent that I could do that. I wasn't dependent on having to be around people all the time, and I'm like that now actually. It's nice to be around people. I'm very sociable, but I also like my own space and my own time. I've got my own timetable to be around people, but then I've got my own timetable for my own space. And it's like I find it very not, I won't say claustrophobic, I don't think that's the right word. But when it comes to my children, I've found it's only really been with the with two of the girls, the younger ones. There's been a situation where the friends have been very clingy, and I haven't liked it. It's like, no, I really don't. And I've found that it's sometimes when it's an only child, they want with three of the younger ones. With the three of the younger ones, I've noticed that, especially when they were in primary school, and it's happening a little bit in secondary school, but I'm trying to help with one particular child with that, for her to see that you got to befriend more than one, two friends. You have, anyway. So I used to find that some of the children would be a little bit clingy to one or two of my children. And I would find that it was mainly because either they were the youngest, either they were an only child, or they had older siblings that either weren't living with them. That's majority of the time that would be the situation, or it could have been a sibling but they were older, and it's obviously not young enough to play with them, like how they wanted to, obviously, go to the park, run around on the swings and this, that, what have you, or play at home or so on and so forth. So I used to find that these particular children used to be very clingy, always wanted them to go and play with them, and then sometimes have sleepovers and so on and so forth. And there was one particular child, I remember how the child used to come up to me after school and say, can one of my children go and play at their house? And I used to say yes. And every time they used to ask me, I used to say yes. But I came to the point where I thought, if I wanted one of my children's friends to come over to my home, I would ask the parent a day or two before, would it be okay if your son or daughter, your child, came to for a play day, came to play at my home on Friday, maybe ask on Wednesday. But this particular child was asking me after school on that same day, could that child, and then I would always used to say yes, but on one particular occasion I said no, and the parent didn't like it. They didn't like it, and it was like, because I think there was a situation, and the parent wasn't responding like they used to, because I felt like they didn't like, the fact that I had said no, but I can't say yes every time. And it was getting into a habit, asking me after school instead of planning it, and that, and there's basically just been situations where I felt that the child has been too clingy, but it's probably because of my own experience, whereby I found joy. It's just nice when you're not dependent on people. It's nice when you're sociable and you like spending time with people, but you also like having a bit of time for yourself. Even as a child, I've shared. I don't think I have shared about that experience, where I just used to spend a lot of time playing in my parents' in our home in the garden, and I just really enjoyed it. And at the same time, I still enjoyed playing with friends. But I just see that, I just feel, and I'm like that now as an adult, like I've shared. So I decided to take part in friendships, and also dealt with it with humour. I was quite funny, and I used to used to just humorise situations, and I used to get around how I felt like that. So college was a lot better than secondary school because I felt like I was more equipped. I've had experience now. I know that you can't keep moving from school to school. I know that there's going to be an issue, and even if it's not the issue that I was going through, you're still going to face something, because that's life, isn't it? It's life. You're still going to face some sort of opposition. Everything can't be, you know, rosy from day to day, week to week, month to month. Yeah. So basically, I look back on my college years, and I look back on my secondary school years, and I look at the friendships, and I say to myself, there's one particular friend that stands out in my mind. Every now and then I reflect and wonder what she's doing. I wonder, it would be nice to meet up with her. And this was one of the friends that I met in the convent school, because basically she was in the same year. She's younger than me, but she was in another class, and we became friends. And we used to go to a dance studio in the West End called the Pineapple. We used to go there on a Friday night. We used to get the 77 bus there to Aldridge, and we used to get off and go to our class. I always remember that. And you know, that friendship. And then when I left the college, I never kept in contact with her. I think I've got sort of like an idea why, because I know that sometimes we all have different values, and sometimes, you know, we don't always agree. But you don't always have to be in a friendship where you agree with everything. You know, you don't always sort of like have to. It's just my lifestyle was a bit different from hers. I think it was a bit more racy. Looking back, it's like, I get it, you know, she was more reserved and so on and so forth. So I get that, but I do sort of reflect back and wonder how she's doing. It would be nice to meet up, but sometimes that's how it is. You meet people for a time and then you move on, you know, meet new, you know, you get in contact with other people and you meet, you know, other friends. But the reason I say that is because I'm just briefly looking at the notes that I've written down here. With my children, I really admire the friendships that they have, because there's the older children, especially my daughters, I've noticed they're still in contact with some of their friends from nursery and primary school. Even the other day, my daughter was saying that, because she was all dressed up, and I said, oh, you know, have you been somewhere nice? She goes, yeah. Yes, it was so-and-so's birthday. No, it was so-and-so's, yeah, her friend's daughter's birthday. Her daughter's too. And so they sort of got together and celebrated. And she was saying it was a friend from primary school. And she showed me a picture. I remember the child, and I even remember the parents. And she showed me a picture of how she looks now. And it's like, wow, you know, and I really, really admire the way that they really do value their friendships. I'm so grateful that they have had good friendships that they can take on to adulthood, because these type of friendships, they're really good solid friendships, aren't they? Because these people really know you, you know, they really, really do know you, and I really value that. Even I remember this particular child that I'm talking to, I remember dropping her off at nursery school, and she had like 4 or 5 friends, and they were all the same height, and it was so cute. But she kept in contact with, and even one of them moved over to America. She moved over to America when she was about, I think, about 12 or 13, 14, between 12 and 14, and they're still in contact. You know, and I just really admire it. I think friendship is so special, and it's something that I didn't have. But I really do admire that in my children, the way that they've really held on to their friendships, and they really do respect them. You know, so it's not as though I disliked having friends. It was the situation at the time. I just felt like there was a bit of disloyalty going on, so I didn't really trust people, so I felt better not being surrounded by people. Yet I knew it was important to socialise. It was that sort of thing. Luckily, I didn't become a recluse, but there was a situation where I could have been, and bet that's further on, and I'll share that with you. But I broke it because I knew what was happening, and I thought, no, I can't. I've got to stop this, otherwise it's just going to get worse and worse. Yeah, so that's what I really do admire it, and I'll share something that I remember when I was in the college, just before I finished the podcast. I remember when I was in the college and they had a college disco, and it was like, I'm not going to go to that. Or am I going to go to a college disco? You know, that sort of thing. So anyway, what happened was that particular evening I had a dream. And I had a dream of one of my friends. She was one of my good friends. She was in the back of a car with this young man. But this young man was dating someone in the next year who was older than us. And I'm like, what on earth's happening here? In my dream, it was like, I remember the dream. You know, sometimes you remember them, sometimes you don't. I remembered this dream. So what happened was, on the Monday, I went to college, bright and breezy, you know, and then it came to lunch. And like always, I went out and to the high street and bought my 2 records and came back. And before I put them in my locker, I remember saying to my friend, who I dreamt was in the back of that car with this young man, I said to her something like, you went to the disco, didn't you, on Friday? And she went, yeah. And I said, well, what were you doing in the back of the car with so-and-so? She went, how did you know about that? Yeah. But what I'm saying now resonates with what I'll share with you next week. When I bring the book, I'll read a particular section and then reflect upon what I've just told you, because it sort of clarified something. Yeah, that was very interesting. But anyway, yeah, so that's at least I'm getting into the beginning of my college years. I'm feeling more relaxed about sharing with you now, and I hope that you're enjoying the videos. And continue to comment, please do, because I'd like to hear your comments. If you can relate to what I'm saying, please share. Please share and let me know. If you want to follow me on social media, my Instagram is Roslyn1325. My Facebook is Roslyn Roberts. My X account is at author_RR Roberts. And then I've got my YouTube video, Welcome Roslyn Roberts, and of course my podcast, Sac Taff. So it would be good for you to follow me, do if you like, subscribe on YouTube and on my podcast, which is on YouTube Studio. And it would be good to hear your comments. Take care. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.